Story 1. I've been working at the local supermarket for about 8 months now, mostly evenings and weekends to help pay for college. At 19, I'm not exactly rolling in cash, so every shift counts. The job isn't glamorous, but it's honest work and my manager is pretty decent. I'd worked my way up from cart duty to the bakery section, which meant I got to interact with customers ordering custom cakes and pastries. The bakery department closes 30 minutes before the store does, so by 9:30 p.m., I'm usually just cleaning up and getting ready to clock out. Most customers understand this, but every now and then you get someone who thinks the world revolves around them. That particular Friday night started like any other. I'd spent most of my shift restocking the display cases and helping customers pick out desserts for weekend gatherings. Around 8 p.m., this middle-aged woman came in looking for a birthday cake. She seemed pleasant enough at first, browsing through our selection of pre-made cakes in the refrigerated case. "Woman, excuse me, do you have anything with extra chocolate? It's for my son's birthday." Me, sure, we have this double chocolate fudge cake right here. It's got chocolate cake layers with fudge filling and chocolate buttercream frosting. She examined it closely, checking the price tag and reading the ingredients list on the side. "Woman, this looks perfect. He's going to love this." I helped her carry it to the front counter where she paid for it. She seemed genuinely excited about the cake, even taking a picture of it with her phone before putting it in her cart. I watched her walk toward the exit, smiling to herself. Just another satisfied customer, or so I thought. By 9:25 p.m., I was wiping down the last of the display cases when I heard shouting from the front of the store. The voice was getting closer to the bakery section, and I could tell someone was really upset. I looked up to see the same woman from earlier storming toward me, carrying what looked like the same cake box, but something was definitely off about it. She slammed the box down on my counter so hard that I jumped back. When I looked inside, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The cake was half gone. Not just a slice or two missing, but literally half the entire cake was gone. There were still candles stuck in what remained, and there were crumbs scattered around the box like someone had been eating it with their hands. "Karen, I want my money back right now." "Me, ma'am, what seems to be the problem?" "Karen, this cake is disgusting. The chocolate wasn't rich enough, and you've completely ruined my son's birthday party." I stared at the demolished cake, trying to process what I was seeing. The woman was acting like this was somehow my fault, but clearly someone had eaten half of this cake before bringing it back. "Me, I'm sorry, but I can see that a significant portion of this cake has been consumed. Our return policy doesn't cover items that have been partially eaten." "Karen, are you calling me a liar? I'm telling you this cake was terrible from the first bite. My son took one taste and refused to eat any more of it." I looked at the cake again. If her son had only taken one bite, where did the other half go? There were multiple fork marks and what looked like fingerprints in the frosting. This cake had clearly been enjoyed by several people. "Me, ma'am, I understand you're upset, but I can't process a return on a cake that's been this extensively consumed. Maybe I can get my manager to speak with you." "Karen, don't give me that attitude, young man. I paid good money for this cake, and it's not my fault your bakery doesn't know how to make proper chocolate cake. My son is devastated, and it's all because of your incompetence." Her voice was getting louder, and other customers were starting to stare. I could feel my face getting red, but I tried to stay professional. "Me, let me call my manager over. He might be able to help you better than I can." I walked to the back and found my manager finishing up some paperwork. I explained the situation, and he came out to the counter with me. When he saw the cake, his eyebrows shot up. "Manager, good evening, ma'am. I understand there's an issue with this cake?" "Karen, finally, someone with authority. This teenager has been giving me nothing but attitude, and I demand a full refund for this terrible cake that ruined my son's birthday." My manager examined the cake carefully, noting all the missing pieces and the obvious signs that it had been eaten. "Manager, I can see that quite a bit of this cake has been consumed. Can you explain what happened?" "Karen, we took it home for the party, and it was so awful that nobody could eat it. The chocolate wasn't rich enough, the frosting was too sweet, and the texture was all wrong. My poor son started crying because his birthday was ruined. Manager: Ma'am, if the cake was so terrible that nobody could eat it, how do you explain that over half of it is missing? Karen: We had to keep trying it to see if maybe different pieces would taste better. But every bite was worse than the last. I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. Her story was getting more ridiculous by the minute. Manager: I'm going to need to check something. Can you wait here for just a moment? He disappeared into the back office, leaving me alone with this increasingly agitated woman. She kept muttering under her breath about terrible customer service and incompetent employees. After a few minutes, my manager returned with a knowing look on his face. Manager: Ma'am, I've just reviewed our security footage from earlier this evening. Would you like to know what I saw? Karen: What are you talking about? What footage? Manager: The footage shows you purchasing this cake around 8 p.m. But more interestingly, it shows you and what appears to be your family celebrating in our parking lot about an hour later. I can clearly see people eating cake and laughing. There's even footage of you taking pictures of everyone enjoying the cake. The woman's face went completely white. She started stammering and looking around like she was trying to find an escape route. Karen: That's not. You can't prove anything. Manager: Actually, I can. The timestamp on the footage shows your family celebrating with this exact cake in our parking lot at 9:05 p.m. Then at 9:27 p.m., the footage shows you walking back into our store carrying this same box, but now it's obviously much lighter. Me: So you celebrated in the parking lot and then came back to try to return the leftovers. Karen: This is harassment. I'm a paying customer, and I deserve better treatment than this. Manager: Ma'am, attempting to return a partially consumed item under false pretenses is considered fraud. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store immediately. Karen: You can't kick me out. I'll call corporate. I'll leave bad reviews everywhere. You'll be sorry you messed with me. Manager: You're also banned from this location effective immediately. If you return, we'll have to call the police for trespassing. The woman grabbed the cake box and stormed toward the exit, shouting about lawsuits and corporate complaints the whole way. Other customers were staring, and some were even recording her outburst with their phones. As she reached the automatic doors, she turned around one last time. Karen: You haven't heard the last of me. I'll make sure everyone knows how terrible this place is. Manager: Have a good evening, ma'am. After she left, my manager and I stood there for a moment, processing what had just happened. Manager: In 15 years of retail, that's definitely one of the most brazen scam attempts I've ever seen. Me: She really thought she could get away with it, didn't she? Manager: Some people have no shame. Thanks for handling that professionally. You did exactly the right thing by calling me over. The next week, I heard from one of the front-end supervisors that the woman had indeed called corporate to complain. But when corporate reviewed the security footage and our manager's report, they upheld the store ban and commended our handling of the situation. I learned that night that some customers will try anything to get something for free, no matter how ridiculous their story sounds. But I also learned that having good management backing you up makes all the difference when dealing with entitled people who think the rules don't apply to them. Story 2. I've been living in this apartment building for about 3 years now. It's nothing fancy, just a basic 4-story building with about 40 units. The rent is decent for the area, and most of my neighbors are pretty quiet. I work as a night shift security guard at a local warehouse, which means I'm usually home during the day when most people are at work. This schedule actually works out great for me since I can do my laundry when the communal laundry room is usually empty. The building has one laundry room in the basement with 4 washers and 4 dryers. It's first come, first served, and most people are pretty reasonable about sharing. You swipe your key fob to get in, and there's never been any real problems. At least, not until Karen moved in about 6 months ago. Karen is this woman in her 50s who lives on the 2nd floor. Right from the start, She made it clear she thought she was better than everyone else in the building. She'd complain about noise at all hours, leave passive-aggressive notes about people not cleaning up after themselves, and generally acted like she owned the place. But I tried to stay out of her way and mind my own business. The first sign of trouble was about 2 months ago. I went down to do laundry on a Sunday afternoon, like I always do. Sundays work perfect for me because I'm usually tired after working all weekend, and doing laundry is relaxing. But when I got to the laundry room door, I couldn't get in. My key fob wasn't working. I figured maybe the system was down or something, so I went back upstairs and called the building management company. They told me the system was working fine and suggested I try again. When I went back down, I ran into my neighbor from across the hall. Hey, are you having trouble getting into the laundry room too? Neighbor? Yeah, my key fob isn't working either. This is weird. We both tried our fobs again, but nothing happened. Then we heard voices from inside the laundry room. Someone was definitely in there. I knocked on the door. Hello. Is everything okay in there? Karen, go away. I'm using the laundry room right now. But the door is locked. How are we supposed to get in when you're done? Karen, you can't. I'm using it all day today. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked at my neighbor, and he looked just as confused as I felt. Neighbor, ma'am, this is a shared laundry room. You can't just lock everyone else out. Karen, I can do whatever I want. I pay rent here just like everyone else. Right, but so do we. And we need to do laundry too. Karen, well, you should have thought of that before. I'm doing all my laundry today, and I don't want to be interrupted. At this point, I was getting frustrated, but I didn't want to cause a scene. I decided to come back later and hope she'd be done. But when I came back 3 hours later, the door was still locked. I could hear the machines running inside, so I knew she was still there. This happened again the next Sunday, and the Sunday after that. I started asking other neighbors, and it turned out Karen had somehow put a lock on the inside of the laundry room door, and was basically claiming it as her own personal laundry room every Sunday. The really crazy part was how she acted when people confronted her about it. I was there one Sunday when this young couple tried to get in. Woman, excuse me, we need to use the laundry room. Karen, too bad, I'm using it today. Man, you can't just take over the whole laundry room for an entire day. Karen, watch me. And if you don't leave me alone, I'm calling the police. Woman, the police? For what? Karen, harassment. You're harassing me while I'm trying to do my laundry in peace. The couple looked at each other like they couldn't believe what they were hearing. I felt bad for them, but I also didn't want to get involved in the drama. Man, this is ridiculous. We're calling the building management. Karen, go ahead. They can't do anything about it. But apparently, they could do something about it. After getting multiple complaints over several weeks, the management company finally took action. I was coming home from work on a Monday morning when I saw a locksmith's van outside the building. I was curious, so I went down to the basement to see what was happening. The locksmith was cutting through a heavy-duty padlock that Karen had somehow attached to the laundry room door. The building manager was there too, looking pretty annoyed. A small crowd of neighbors had gathered to watch. Building manager, this is completely unacceptable. No tenant has the right to lock other tenants out of common areas. Just then, Karen came rushing down the stairs. She was still in her pajamas and looked furious. Karen, what are you doing? You can't break my lock. Building manager, your lock. You don't own this laundry room. This is a shared amenity for all residents. Karen, I have every right to secure my belongings when I'm doing laundry. Building manager, you have the right to use the laundry room when it's available, just like everyone else. You don't have the right to prevent other tenants from accessing it. Karen, this is theft. You're stealing my property. Locksmith, ma'am, you can't put locks on doors in a rental building without permission from management. Karen, I'm calling the police. This is breaking and entering. The building manager pulled out his phone and showed Karen something on the screen. Building manager, go ahead and call them. I've already documented everything and taken photos. You've been locking other tenants out of a shared amenity for weeks. Multiple people have complained. Karen's face was getting redder by the minute. She started yelling about her rights and how she was being discriminated against, but the building manager wasn't having it. Building manager, here's what's going to happen. First, you're being charged for the locksmith visit. That's coming out of your security deposit. Second, your key fob access is being suspended for 2 weeks. Karen, you can't do that. Building manager, actually, I can. It's in your lease agreement. Misuse of common areas can result in temporary suspension of amenities. Karen, this is illegal. I'm suing all of you. Building manager, that's your right. But in the meantime, you'll follow the building rules like everyone else. The locksmith finished cutting the lock, and the building manager immediately posted a big sign on the door. It said something like, "Shared laundry room, all tenants have equal access, no personal locks allowed, violators will be charged and may lose privileges." Karen stood there fuming as people started dispersing. She looked around like she expected someone to support her, but everyone just avoided eye contact and went back to their business. Karen, this isn't over, I know my rights. She stormed back upstairs, and I finally got to do my laundry in peace for the first time in weeks. The best part came a few days later when I ran into the building manager in the lobby. He told me that Karen had indeed called the police, but they basically laughed at her when she tried to report the building management for stealing her lock. They told her she couldn't lock other people out of shared spaces and that she should work it out with her landlord. She also tried to dispute the locksmith charge, but the management company had photos of the lock, records of all the complaints, and documentation of their warnings to her. She ended up having to pay the full amount. For those 2 weeks, while her key fob was disabled, I'd sometimes see her in the lobby looking frustrated, probably because she couldn't get into the laundry room. A few times she tried to follow other people in, but most neighbors had heard about the situation and wouldn't let her piggyback on their access. When her fob got reactivated, she did try to use the laundry room normally for a while. But I guess the humiliation of being called out so publicly got to her, because she moved out about a month later. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to break her lease early and blamed the building management for harassment, but her lease was ironclad. Now the laundry room is back to normal. People share it like civilized human beings, and I can do my Sunday laundry routine without any drama. It's amazing how much more peaceful the building has been since she left. I guess some people really do think the world revolves around them, but reality has a way of setting them straight eventually. Story 3. I've been working as a lifeguard at our community pool for about 6 months now. I'm 18 and this is my first real job. I saved up money from babysitting and lawn mowing to get my lifeguard certification because I needed the work. My parents said if I wanted a car for college, I had to earn it myself. The pay isn't amazing, but it's decent for a summer job, and I actually enjoy watching over the pool and making sure everyone stays safe. The community pool where I work isn't huge, but it gets pretty busy during summer. We have families with kids, teenagers hanging out, and older folks doing their morning laps. Most people are really nice and follow the rules. I've had to deal with some difficult situations before: kids running on wet concrete, people trying to bring glass containers into the pool area, that sort of thing. But nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday. It was around noon when this woman showed up with her son. The kid looked maybe 7 or 8 years old. He was pale, like really pale, the kind of skin that burns easily. The woman was dressed nice, like she was going somewhere important after dropping him off. She signed him in at the front desk and brought him over to the pool area. Me, hi there. Just so you know, kids under 10 need adult supervision in the pool area. Karen, oh, he's fine. He's a great swimmer. I'll be back later. Me, I'm sorry, but that's actually against our policy. Adults need to stay with children under 10. Karen, look, I have very important business to attend to. He'll be fine for a few hours. Just keep an eye on him. Before I could explain the rules again, She was already walking toward the exit. I called after her, but she just waved her hand dismissively and kept going. I was stuck in a tough spot. I couldn't leave my lifeguard chair to chase after her, and the kid was already jumping into the shallow end. I radioed my supervisor, but she was dealing with some maintenance issue in the pump room. The kid seemed happy enough, playing by himself in the shallow end. I figured his mom would be back soon. Maybe she just ran to get something from her car. I kept a close eye on him and made sure he stayed in the safe areas. 1 hour passed. Then 2. Then 3. The kid never left the pool. He was having fun, but I could see his shoulders and back starting to turn pink. I called him over. Hey buddy, you should probably take a break and get some shade. Do you have any sunscreen? Kid: no, my mom didn't bring any. She said you guys would have some. We don't provide sunscreen. That's always been a parent's responsibility. I felt bad for the kid, so I went to the first aid station and found some leftover sunscreen from last summer. It wasn't much, but I helped him put some on his shoulders and nose. You should really sit under the umbrella for a while, okay? Kid: but I want to keep swimming. I know, but you're getting pretty red. Your mom will be back soon, right? Kid: I don't know. She said she had important stuff to do. By hour 4, I was getting worried. The kid was definitely sunburned despite my efforts with the limited sunscreen. His whole back was red, and he was starting to look tired. I gave him some water and made him sit in the shade, but he kept asking when his mom was coming back. Other parents at the pool were starting to notice too. A few asked me if the kid was okay, and I had to explain the situation. They seemed pretty shocked that someone would just leave their child for so long. Around 4 p.m., the woman finally came back. She was carrying shopping bags and looked like she'd had a nice, relaxing day. She walked over to where her son was sitting under the umbrella, took one look at him, and completely lost it. Karen: what did you do to my son? He's burned to a crisp. Ma'am, I tried to get him to take breaks and put on sunscreen, but… Karen: sunscreen, that's your job. You're supposed to be watching these kids. I am watching him for safety in the water, but parents are responsible for sunscreen and… Karen: don't you dare try to blame me. I left him here because I trusted you people to take care of him properly. By now, she was yelling loud enough that everyone at the pool was staring. Parents were pulling their kids closer, and some were already reaching for their phones. Karen: this is completely unacceptable. I'm going to sue this place. You people are supposed to be professionals. Ma'am, our policy clearly states that children under 10 need adult supervision. You left him here for 4 hours without… Karen: 4 hours? I was gone for maybe an hour, and even if it was longer, that's what I pay membership fees for you to watch my kid. One of the other parents, a dad with 2 young kids, stepped forward. Dad, excuse me, but I've been here since noon, and you definitely left that kid here for way longer than an hour. Karen: mind your own business. This is between me and this incompetent lifeguard. Another mom joined in. Mom: actually, we've all been watching this whole situation. That little boy has been here alone all day while you were off shopping. Karen: how dare you judge my parenting? I had important errands to run. Mom: more important than your son's safety. Karen: he was perfectly safe. It's this idiot's fault he got burned. She pointed at me, and I could feel my face getting red. I was trying to stay professional, but she was really pushing it. Ma'am, I did everything I could to help your son while you were gone. I gave him sunscreen from our first aid kit and made sure he took breaks in the shade. Karen: that's not enough. You should have called me. We don't have your contact information. You didn't leave a number. Karen: then you should have made me. This is completely your fault. At this point, several parents had their phones out and were recording. The woman was getting more and more worked up, yelling and waving her arms around. Her poor kid looked embarrassed and was trying to hide behind the umbrella. Karen: I want to speak to your manager right now. I'm going to make sure you get fired for this. Me. I can call my supervisor, but she's going to tell you the same thing about our policies. Karen, I don't care about your stupid policies. Policies don't help my son's sunburn. The dad who had spoken up earlier stepped closer. Dad, maybe if you hadn't abandoned your kid for 4 hours, he wouldn't be sunburned. Karen, I did not abandon him. I left him in the care of qualified professionals. Mom, lifeguards aren't babysitters. They're here for water safety, not to raise your kid. Karen, I pay good money for this membership. That money pays their salary. Dad, your membership doesn't include childcare services. Karen, stay out of this, all of you. But more parents were getting involved now. Word was spreading around the pool area about what had happened, and people were not happy. Another mom, I can't believe you just left a 7-year-old here alone all day. Karen, he's 8, and he's perfectly capable of taking care of himself. Mom, no 8-year-old should be left alone at a pool for 4 hours. Karen, you people are all just ganging up on me because you're jealous that I have a life outside of hovering over my kid. Dad, having a life doesn't mean neglecting your responsibilities as a parent. That's when my supervisor finally showed up. She'd been dealing with the broken pool filter all afternoon and looked tired and stressed. Supervisor, what's going on here? Karen immediately turned her attention to my supervisor, practically screaming. Karen, your employee here let my son get severely sunburned. I want him fired immediately. Supervisor, can you please lower your voice and explain what happened? Karen, I left my son here for a short time, and when I came back, he was burned because this lifeguard didn't put sunscreen on him. Supervisor, ma'am, applying sunscreen isn't part of our lifeguard duties. That's a parent's responsibility. Karen, that's ridiculous. What am I paying for then? Supervisor, pool access and water safety supervision. The dad with the phone stepped forward. Dad, I've got the whole thing recorded if you need it. She left that kid here alone for 4 hours and is now blaming your lifeguard for her kid getting sunburned. Karen, delete that right now. You can't record me without permission. Dad, actually, this is a public space, so yes, I can. Karen, I'm calling the police. This is harassment. Mom, call them. I'm sure they'd love to hear about how you abandoned your child. My supervisor looked around at all the parents who were nodding and confirming the story. She turned back to the woman. Supervisor, ma'am, I'm going to need you to gather your things and leave. We'll be reviewing this incident and will contact you about your membership status. Karen, you can't kick me out. I haven't done anything wrong. Supervisor, you violated our child supervision policy by leaving a minor unattended for several hours. That's grounds for immediate removal. Karen, this is discrimination. I'm going to sue all of you. She grabbed her son's hand and her shopping bags, still yelling as my supervisor escorted them toward the exit. Karen, you'll be hearing from my lawyer, all of you. After they left, several parents came up to me to make sure I was okay. They all said they'd be happy to give statements about what really happened if needed. The dad who recorded everything said he was sending the video to management. 2 days later, my supervisor called me into the office. I was nervous, thinking maybe I was in trouble after all. But she just wanted to let me know that they'd received multiple complaints and video evidence about the incident. The woman's pool membership had been suspended for the rest of the season. Supervisor, you handled that situation as well as anyone could have. Just for future reference, if something like this happens again, radio me immediately and we'll contact Child Services if a parent abandons their kid. Me, will I get in trouble if she really does try to sue? Supervisor, the video evidence makes it pretty clear what really happened. Plus, we have witnesses. Don't worry about it. I felt relieved, but I also felt bad for that little kid. None of this was his fault, and he was the one who suffered because his mom couldn't be bothered to be a responsible parent. I just hope he's okay and that maybe this whole mess taught her something about leaving kids unattended. Though based on how she acted, I'm not holding my breath. Story 4. I've been in a wheelchair for 3 years now after a car accident damaged my spinal cord. Most days I manage pretty well, but some situations still catch me off guard. What happened at my favorite cafe last Tuesday was one of those situations that left me shocked at how cruel people can be. I work as a freelance graphic designer, which means I spend a lot of time in coffee shops with my laptop. There's this small place called K-Korner Brew that I've been going to for about 2 years. The owner converted it from an old bookstore, so it's pretty cramped with mismatched furniture everywhere. They only have one table that's actually accessible for wheelchairs. It's round, sits lower than the others, and has enough space underneath for my legs and wheelchair to fit properly. I usually get there around 10 in the morning when it's not too busy. The staff knows me well and always saves me my usual spot if they can. That Tuesday started like any other day. I ordered my regular coffee and settled in at my table with my laptop to work on a logo design for a local bakery. About an hour later, this woman walked in with 2 friends. She was probably in her 40s, wearing expensive-looking clothes and carrying a designer handbag that cost more than I make in a month. She looked around the cafe with this annoyed expression, like the place wasn't good enough for her. The woman: "This place is so small. Where are we supposed to sit?" Her friend: "Maybe we should go somewhere else." The woman: "No, I already told everyone to meet us here." She walked around looking at the tables, then her eyes landed on mine. She marched over with her friends trailing behind her. The woman: "Excuse me, we need this table." Me: "I'm sorry, but I'm using it right now. There are other tables available." The woman: "Those tables are too small. We have a book club meeting, and we need the space." I looked around the cafe. There were at least 3 other tables open, including a rectangular one that could easily fit 4 people. Me: "That table over there looks like it would work perfectly for your group." The woman: "I don't want that table. I want this one. You can move." Me: "I'm sorry, but this is the only wheelchair-accessible table in the cafe. I can't really use the other ones." The woman: "Wheelchair accessible? You're sitting in a regular chair." I was confused for a second, then realized she hadn't noticed my wheelchair. I was sitting at the table with my wheelchair pushed in, so from her angle, it probably wasn't obvious. Me: "I'm in a wheelchair. This table is designed to accommodate wheelchairs. The other tables are too high and don't have space underneath." The woman looked down and saw my wheelchair, but instead of apologizing or backing down, her face got red with anger. The woman: "That's ridiculous. You're obviously fine. I saw you come in here walking around." Me: "No, I definitely didn't walk in here. I've been in this wheelchair for 3 years." The woman: "Don't lie to me. I have eyes. You were walking around when I came in." At this point, other customers were starting to stare. I felt my face getting hot with embarrassment and anger. Me: "Ma'am, I think you have me confused with someone else. I haven't walked anywhere." The woman: "This is discrimination against able-bodied people. You're hogging the good table and making up stories about being disabled." She raised her voice loud enough that the whole cafe could hear her. The woman: "Everyone can see you're faking it. People like you make it harder for real disabled people." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My hands were shaking as I tried to figure out how to respond. I've dealt with ignorant comments before, but nothing this aggressive or public. The barista, a college-aged guy who'd served me dozens of times, came over looking uncomfortable. Barista: "Is everything okay over here?" The woman: "This girl is pretending to be disabled to hog the best table. Make her move so paying customers can sit down." Barista: "She is a paying customer, and she's been coming here for years. That table is specifically for customers who need wheelchair access." The woman: "She's not disabled. Look at her. She's sitting up straight, moving her arms around. Disabled people can't do that." Me: "That's not how spinal cord injuries work. I have partial paralysis in my legs, but my upper body functions normally." The woman: "Prove it then. Stand up." The whole cafe went silent. I felt like everyone was staring at me, waiting to see what I would do. The humiliation was overwhelming. Me, I don't have to prove anything to you. The woman, because you can't. You're a liar and a fraud. That's when the owner came out from behind the counter. He's this older man who's always been kind to me, remembering my order and asking about my work. Owner, what's going on here? The woman immediately turned to him with a fake smile. The woman, thank goodness, your staff won't help us. This girl is faking being disabled to steal the good table from legitimate customers. The owner looked at her, then at me, then back at her. Owner, that customer has been coming here twice a week for 2 years. She's never walked through that door. She's always in her wheelchair. The woman, then you're all covering for her. This is probably some kind of insurance scam. Owner, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The woman, what? We haven't even ordered yet. Owner, and you won't be ordering. You're banned from this establishment. The woman, you can't ban me. I'm a customer. Owner, actually, I can ban anyone who harasses my other customers, especially customers who attack people with disabilities. The woman, she's not disabled. This is insane. Owner, leave now, or I'm calling the police. The woman looked around the cafe like she expected support, but everyone was staring at her with disgust. Her friends looked mortified. Friend, come on, let's just go. The woman, fine. This place is a dump anyway. I'm posting reviews everywhere about how you discriminate against normal people. She stormed out, leaving her embarrassed friends to follow. The cafe was quiet for a minute, then slowly conversations started up again. The owner came over to my table. Owner, I'm so sorry that happened. Your coffee is on the house today. Me, thank you. I can't believe she actually thought I was faking. Owner, some people are just awful. Don't let her get to you. I thought that was the end of it, but the owner did something I didn't expect. That evening, he posted about the incident on the cafe's social media page. He didn't mention my name, but he described what happened and talked about how the cafe is committed to being accessible and welcoming to all customers. The post went viral locally. Hundreds of people shared it and commented with support. But here's where it gets interesting. Several people in the comments recognized the woman from the description and started posting her name. Turns out she's pretty well known in town for similar behavior at other businesses. Within a few days, screenshots of the post and comments were everywhere on local Facebook groups. People started sharing their own stories about encounters with her. She tried to post her own version of events, claiming she was the victim, but that just made things worse when people corrected her lies. The best part, her book club disbanded because the other members were too embarrassed to be associated with her. The woman she'd been so desperate to get that table for ended up canceling their meeting permanently. A week later, I was back at Corner Brew at my usual table when the owner came over. Owner, thought you'd like to know she tried to come back yesterday. Tried to sneak in wearing sunglasses and a hat. Me, what happened? Owner, I recognized her immediately and reminded her about the ban. She claimed it was her identical twin sister, and that she'd never been here before. Me, her identical twin sister. Owner, yep, I told her the twin was banned too, just in case. I still go to Corner Brew twice a week. The staff treats me the same as always, and I've never had another problem. Sometimes I think about that woman and wonder if she learned anything from the experience. Probably not, but at least she learned that actions have consequences. The whole thing taught me that while there are cruel people in the world, there are also plenty of good people willing to stand up for what's right. The owner didn't have to ban her or post about it, but he did because it was the right thing to do. That meant more to me than she could ever understand.